ma'am. Moving on to milestone 4. Okay, so milestone 4 is a closure. It's the big hoorah.
Yeah.
It really is. When somebody's getting close, it's big hoorah moment. We feel like we use a term around here like we rocked the baby. And they're successful, they're doing well. So we're really proud. So the very first page is just a progress report. And you're going to ask, what's the consumer, number 1 is going to be, what's the consumer satisfaction? It's on a scale of 1 is dissatisfied, 2 moderately satisfied, and 3 is satisfied. So in this case, we would say, okay, it's a 3. And then we would provide the supporting statement. So Jane says that everything at work is going well and she's really enjoying her job. Number 2, family satisfaction. Same kind of thing. We're going to give her a 3. Her family, and the supporting statement being her family support system is satisfied with her placement. Now, if they don't have family involved, then you can also put not applicable. But if family's involved, most of the time you're going to be working with the client and the family. So number 3 is the employer satisfaction. The employer satisfaction, another page of milestone 4 is the employer verification. And that's going to ask, how satisfied they are. So you can pull from that page, which is one of the next tabs. And you don't have to go to it, Jennifer, but the next tab is employment verification. That's going to tell you how they feel about it, how the employer feels. So we're going to pull from that and say that the employer satisfaction was a 3. Her manager is satisfied with her work performance and says she's made a lot of improvements since first starting, and she's a huge asset to the team. And then we're going to go into progress towards employment. So is this an appropriate match? Is it likely that she's going to be successful? Have we faded? Are we, we don't want to be there job coaching every shift, every hour. Have we gotten to a point where she's pretty much independent? So you would just kind of write a statement, kind of highlighting those things. So in this case, we put, the job is an appropriate match for Jane. On-site job coaching has faded and Jane's productivity level is high. Next is the employment barriers. So are there barriers of transportation or personal behavior or medical or anything of that nature? And at this point, Jane does not have any employment barriers that interfere with her work. But if maybe she did, as far as like, not being able to, something having to do with transportation, maybe not knowing the bus route, then the job coach could help with that. They could help to show her bus routes and do some transportation training. Maybe her car broke down, and so now she's having to use the bus, those kind of things. So you would put any employment barriers that may be there. The next one is extended service status. So identify the current extended service and any needed changes. So on this, we put Jane will be transferred to extended services. Jane and her employer will be called monthly for follow-up. And should any issues arise, the employment specialist will go to Jane's place of employment and job coach. So this is just talking about kind of like the safety net that's provided. They've gotten to 90 days, but we're still going to provide support for the lifetime of the job. And how we're going to do that is to contact twice a month. So it's making one call to the employer, one call to the client. We could do more, but that is that's the minimum that needs to be done for extended services. Okay, and then finally, strategies for future service and or the closure conclusion. So the conclusion that we've put here is that Jane has successfully completed milestone 4 and she'll be moved to extended services. We call our department here extended services. We have someone that makes those phone calls for us, and And should there be any problems, like I said, she would let us know, and we would have the employment specialist that originally worked with the client, if they're still with us, hopefully, we would have them to go out. So, and then at the very bottom, it's just the hours worked weekly, the rate of pay, the employment specialist, the consumer's name, and the date again. Okay, the next one is employment verification satisfaction form. Okay, this looks familiar because it's the same form that you saw in milestone 3, but it's now been 90 days, and we want to know if the employer, still feels the same. Hopefully if there was anything that needed to be improved, it's been improved upon at this time. So like right there at the top, you just need to get the employer's signature. And then down a little bit towards the bottom, it says, are you satisfied? Or towards the middle, it says, are you satisfied with the employee's job performance at the present level of support? And you want to get a yes here. If you don't get a yes, then you have to work on what they've selected, and you're not going to want to turn in this billing until the employer's satisfied. Now, I get that some employers are a little more picky than others, but this is their overall satisfaction. There may be something that you're just never going to be able to job coach, to get it to be 100% successful, but the overall satisfaction of the employee, their job performance, and the support that's provided, are they satisfied with that? You want a yes, and you want the employer to sign. Okay. The next one is consumer job satisfaction form. Again, same form that's in milestone 3, but now we're at 90 days, and we want to make sure they're still happy with their job. So we just ask them if they're still satisfied with the present job and the support system. And they put yes. And we ask them, what do you like best about your job? Is there anything you don't like? Now, I have no in the example about anything that you don't like. It's okay if I like my friends and I like making a paycheck, but I don't like, I don't know, that I have to go outside and get the carts sometimes. I'm a bagger at a grocery store, but sometimes they make me go get the carts. So things like that can be on there for sure. And then at the very bottom, you're going to put the consumer's current address, their current phone number, and you're going to have them to sign it. Most of the time, it's just the consumer's signature. As far as the consumer representative, maybe their guardian needs to sign this for them. But maybe they're not able to sign it themselves, and they need somebody to help them, somebody that represents them. Okay, employment report. Okay, the employment report basically just the information, the basic information of the person's name, the last 4 of their social, the day they started, and the end date. So I also like to say at this point that the start date is their hire date. Their end date is 90 days plus the retention period. So, so if it took you 2 weeks, it's 90 days plus 2 weeks. If it took you 3, it's 90 days plus 3 weeks. So just kind of be aware of that. The source of the report is job coaching, supportive employment. The work status is competitive. Again, you're going to list the employer. You're going to list the job. You've also seen this page before too, but we're making sure that nothing has changed as far as did they increase hours? Did their pay increase? So you're just doing another employment report at the end to say where they're at closure. And then, so we talk about wages. Is it hourly, weekly, biweekly? How are they paid? And then the job duties, we discussed those again. She's an inventory associate at the back of the store. She goes through the boxes, puts the labels and those kind of things. And then directions to work. That's so that maybe the employment specialist that did this billing is no longer with the company, and therefore whoever does the follow-up maybe has to go back out. They're going to need the directions to where it's at, and also if the counselor ever wanted to go by and visit their consumer as well. Scrolling down, it says reasons for leaving, and the box will be filled out as not applicable. But if they did get let go or something along those lines, I believe that you could select, the moved or fired. But Jennifer, I might have to get clarification on that. But for the most part, it should just be, reason for leaving is not applicable because you're closing them successfully.
Right. And if it does that, if it turns out that you have to say that they've been fired, you just be turning in the paperwork to VR, but you would not get paid for because you haven't had a successful milestone closure.
That makes sense. Another thing that Ms. Hicks mentioned earlier is that I didn't really prepare about was just, but it was the exceptional wage. So, this employment report will help you to verify if they have the exceptional wage. And I believe that's all that I have for milestone 4.
Okay, Ashley, I thank you so much. This has been a
Jennifer, Jennifer, this is Dorothy. I have a question going back to employee verification satisfaction report. Milestone 4. On this report where the employee signs and the wage and the average work, are we filling that in, or are the employee filling it in?
Okay, the employer verification. Okay, yes. So both of those forms, which I did fail to mention, but the employer verification and also the job, the consumer job satisfaction are filled out. The employer verification filled out by the employer. It's just typed because it's an example, but it would be filled out. We could fill out the top part for them to not waste too much of their time. But yeah, we want them to select yes or no, and then we want them to sign it.
Right.
No, I'm speaking on the
I'm sorry.
Average weekly work hours and the wage. Since they're using this as a check stub for verification, do we fill that out or does the employee fill that out?
Okay. That's a good question.
Because we've been having the employee to fill it out. The wage, the hour worked, the wage, and then they sign it.
Well, we definitely want the employer to sign off on it, Dorothy, because that is what the councils have to have for employment verification.
No, what I'm asking is, do we fill in the hours and the wage, or does the employee fill in the hours and the wage and the wage?
Or do you mean the employer?
The employer, I mean.
What sheet are we talking about?
I think we're talking about employer verification. She's asking, we type in or write in the top information, or does the
what I'm saying, we put the employee's name, the start date, the business name. The employee has what I understand, they wrote in the hours, the wage, and signed it.
Well, okay, the employer is signing it regardless of who filled it out. So I'm assuming the employer is looking at the information that's on there and verifying by the person's signature. So I don't know that it really matters who's completing it.
Okay, that's what I just wanted to know.
Yeah, but if it's wrong, the employer is not going to sign it.
Yeah, that's kind of thing. You can have them fill it out, or you can fill it out yourself, but they're verifying that information is correct.
Right. Okay. Thank you for your question.
Another question, Ashley.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Is a copy of the pay stub needed for verification as well?
Jennifer, you might answer that, but we've always had it as either or.
That is correct. On our,
Okay.
that's why we spent so much time talking about the employer signature. If you have the milestone 4 paperwork accurate and the employer has signed off on it, then you do not need a pay stub. However, if you don't have the employer verification for whatever reason, the employee's too busy, won't sign it, whatever, then you have to follow that up with a pay stub.
Okay.
I would also say, and correct me if this is wrong, when we do the exceptional wage, we've been providing the pay stub.
Yeah, and the milestone 4 paperwork, as long as it's completed in its entirety with the appropriate signatures, that will even suffice for the exceptional wage. However, if you're able to get the pay stub, we won't turn that down, and the council.
I know people. I think it's a preference. I think having both is preferred by most counselors that I've seen.
Yeah, but you're within your right as far as when we're talking about supported employment. Now, if you were doing career services, you would not have milestone 4 paperwork, and you would need the check stub. But we have covered the milestone 4 paperwork to the point where you should not need the pay stub. So the counselor should be aware that if you get it as an extra, just know that it's a bonus. All right. Any other questions real quick before Ashley leaves?
Thank you all for your time.
No other questions.
And
Thank
Ashley,
Thank you.
we thank you so much for your valuable presentation. You've been very thorough. I feel like we have a good recording to share with our current new providers as well as for the future. So we cannot thank you enough. And I applaud you, Ashley. Thank you for being so generous to us to provide this training. We really appreciate that.